Hello again and welcome officials to another week of training videos for the Wyoming High School Activities Association. This is Tyler Spear, coordinator of football officials. I thank you for your time. Got 4 plays for you this week. And as we move into the regular season here a little more in earnest, it's just good to always take a step back and refresh our memory on a few things, hone our craft and get a little better each week. So I want to start by thanking each of the 3 crews that are featured in this video this week. Thank you for your willingness to share your video, to seek feedback. And I'll tell you, folks, we all get better when we have an approach to this avocation of ours of humility and learning. None of us is perfect. We can all get better. We're all in search of that perfect game. And frankly, if we ever found it, it's time to quit. But we're never going to find it. So we can always work to get better and refine our craft. And so, again, my thanks to these crews for that willingness to help us all get a little better. And try not to be as verbose as I have been in weeks past, but who knows, that might not be so successful either. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, on this first play here, you can see we have our good old friend, the swinging gate. Everybody likes a little funky formation on their Friday morning and or whatever day of the week it is. And so thought it'd be good to address this. So there's a couple pieces to this as we get started that I want to highlight. The first is a philosophy, and that philosophy is, number one, if a team decides that they're going to do a trick play, whether it's a funky formation, using some kind of special exception to the rule, like the numbering exception, or anything, you know, the TV guys used to call it trickeration. Anytime a team decides they are going to do this, they are subjecting themselves to a higher level of scrutiny from us as an officiating crew, right? So the philosophy here is if a trick play is going to be used, it has to be executed with perfection. That means everybody's set. That means the formation has to be perfect. That means the actions have to be perfect. On these plays, that standard has to be risen a little bit. And so just keep that in mind. And then the second piece of this is remembering who's doing what in your pre-snap routine. And so tries are a perfect example of when the weird stuff comes out. And so it's always good in your pre-snap on a try to think about, and really scrimmage kicks are another one, that kind of a thing. Who has what in the pre-snap routine is a really big question. And so things to think about when you see either the swinging gate like we have here, the 4 corners that Laramie ran a couple years ago, the list goes on. Who has those very basic fundamental items? Who's got making sure the formation is legal? You know, because as you can see, like in this formation, it's overloaded to one side. We still need to communicate that. Radios, godsend right here. You know, umpires, and I've been bit on this one before. It still bothers me to this day. Do we have 5 mouth breathers numbered between 50 and 79? Those are, who's got that? Umpire, that's you. You know, the way the snap goes, referee has eyes on that. You know, this is ripe for a pick play. Back judge, what are you thinking about in this situation? So in the pre-snap, be mindful of these things. Okay, so as we get started on this play, you're going to see, I'm going to back it up just a touch. This formation is close to not being legal. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but I think one thing that we got to keep in mind here is this up back here, is he legal or is he off the line of scrimmage? If he's on the line of scrimmage, that's one thing, but in this formation, he might be off the line of scrimmage. The film angle makes that tough. If he's off the line of scrimmage, we have a formation foul, right? So let's make sure that we address that. Okay, So if he's in the backfield, we have a formation foul. If he's on the line of scrimmage, we need more information, and the next play will cover that. The next thing we need to look at here is I want you to watch our running back. Ooh, that's really big. Let's watch this running back right here, and let's watch his movement as well at this snap, okay? That could be the next thing that we need to address as well. Looks awful quick. I'll back it up and let the whole thing go here. Sorry for the delay. I'm no fan of this new huddle. So as the center comes set, boy, that looks awful close to maybe having an FST or an illegal motion on our hands. So again, in this situation, we're close. And to me, close isn't good enough when we're looking at funky formations, trick plays. So keep that in mind just as we move forward. One more time here. All right, on the next play here, we have additional information that helps us out a bunch. And so, as we talked about in the previous slide, our first question is, do we have 5 buffet busters numbered 50 to 79? And if we look at this, back it up to where the center's standing up, 65, 50, 76, 71, and 7s. We have 5 big guys, so we're okay there. But look at our friend number 1 here, okay? Let's watch him and see where he lines up when we're set, okay? I sure like this formation a lot better than last time. We clearly don't have anybody close to being in the offensive backfield. However, number 1 here is, by rule, covered up. And so if you look in your books, there is no situation by which he can become eligible to catch a forward pass, even if it's behind the line of scrimmage. Remember that players, unless we're in scrimmage kick formation where the numbering exception applies, then you've got to pay attention in those situations. But in this formation here, that player has to be eligible by both number and position. And in this case, he is eligible by number, but ineligible by position. So just keep that in mind. He pops back. Not so very much, folks. So let's go ahead. We'll watch this again. I'm going to back it up all the way to the beginning. So watch this action again here. I think we're close to being set. We'll say it's good enough, but obviously there is no situation in which this player is eligible to receive that forward pass. I'm going to let it loop through one more time. And so again, who's got eyes on this is something that needs to be discussed as a crew as you see this kind of preparing. I don't anticipate you'll see this moving forward for obvious reasons, but in this situation, somebody's got to know how this person got into the end zone, okay? And we need to have a marker drop for this. This is illegal touching of a forward pass. Since it is a try and the down counts, what is our ruling? You tell me. All right. So let's go on to the next play here. This is another one that was sent in, and I think it's a good one here. I want to start with something minor, though, that was in the rules video to start the year, okay? Obviously, for another year, sideline management is a point of emphasis for us, and for good reason. And as you look at this screen, I just want to make notice of one thing. Obviously, our angle isn't great, and we may have issues down here along the sideline. However, this is one of those situations where I do not want you as officials fishing backwards to try and get this, okay? There is no harm in this situation. Now, if a change of possession happens, sure, we might have a conversation. But ultimately, I don't want your attention back on the 25 when we are clearly first and goal at the 1. There's only one place our focus should be. So we can correct this later, but certainly don't be fishing back on this, okay? All right, so what I want you to pay attention to on this play is QB1's motion. All right. So keep an eye on QB1's motion as this play begins, and it's pretty clear what the concern is. I like that the officials are pinching in, trying to get an angle on this. But as you can see, it's pretty clear. I'm going to slow it down. It's pretty clear what the concern is here. Now, remember, when we talk about formations being legal, remember that all offensive players need to be set. The book says a count. It says a second. Regardless, I think the biggest thing here is we clearly have QB1 not coming set. This should be a false start foul or at least get something. Maybe you can go motion. I would just say you call it an illegal procedure foul, and we should shut this one down. Back it up one last time so you can see the whole thing. Also got the bush push going on, which is a point of emphasis as well. Keep an eye on that. It's hard to tell when it's a scrum like that. Since we're talking about it, if it's the rugby scrum, it's pretty hard to throw on that. If it's clear two hands in the back of the ball carrier, that's the helping the runner that you need to throw. And certainly if at any point someone is pulling the runner, then that's something you need to throw as well. So 2 points to keep in mind there. Should have had yellow on this for the motion. And then let's be mindful of helping the runner as well. All right. Last couple plays. I guess I miscounted. I actually have 5 plays today. And both of these are actually some interesting situations here. So the first thing here, we have a scrimmage kick formation with a late sub, no big deal. We'll get set here. So I like our R's movement up to the goal line. Let's just make sure, referees, here, that we're starting this play on the goal line, okay? We got to be on the goal line in this situation because at some point, a snap over the head and it dribbles, yeah, maybe you can get to the goal line from a yard deep, but take the extra step and get to the goal line. And we have a really duck of a punt. Now, I want to give kudos to this crew because watch the line judge down here at the bottom. Our line judge here does exactly what we want mechanically. As soon as the snap is clean, he's taking off down the sideline. That's exactly what we're looking for. You're going to go down and help on punt coverage. And so here goes that wing. All of a sudden we have a duck. And as I pause it right here, I want to give kudos to my line judge and my referee right here, okay? Because that's exactly what we're looking for mechanically. The line judge has gone deeper than he thinks the punt went out of bounds. Don't really care how far deep you go. Go a long darn ways. The referee got to the spot where the ball was kicked or close to it, to where he has an opinion of where it went out of bounds. And as we watch these two work together, you can see the R has his hand up. The LJ is marching up the field. And it gets cut off here, but the LJ will get to the 20 and be chopped in. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Mechanically, that's correct. And we get a nice, good look at where the next series should start. So kudos to this crew for taking care of that punt out of bounds on the fly mechanic. It's a good job. And, if it were duck season, then there'd be some guys in orange vests looking for that punt. That's for sure. All right, if we go to a couple plays later in this series, you can see that we're still on that new line of scrimmage. And this play was submitted by this very official, the umpire, and I want to thank him for being willing to be the topic of conversation here. Um, he and I spent some time on the phone today. He says, just in introspect, is there anything I could do differently to address the situation? And it's a good question, and it kind of leaves him in a bit of a catch-22. So I'll let it go, and then we'll watch it again. So watch our umpire here. So blue gets 2 points for the takedown. That's the first piece. But when we look at this, I want to slow this down for y'all so you can see some really excellent mechanics here. And so we'll play it in slow motion here. Both the R and the U count, good stuff. We're going to have just a counter, pretty simple. I want you to first look at the umpire's eye discipline here. This is great eye discipline. He is looking, even though the runner is right there, his eyes stay on the block of 55 right here. So he's looking at that block that could have potentially sprung this play. So the first thing is that is exactly the kind of eye discipline we're looking for. This would be an easy play, and if you look down, you can see the score. It'd be a really easy time for us to ball watch. So I want to give this official some kudos for keeping that eye discipline on that block before pivoting. The pivot happens, and then we have the car wreck. And as we looked at this, the question was, ooh, that's really fun in slow motion. The question is what could we do differently? And so if we back this up to the beginning of the play, when we look at what could be done differently, well, we're starting on the 20, and our colleague here is on the 13. Perhaps he could have been a little deeper on the 10. For mechanic wise, we're looking for umpires to set up anywhere between 7 and 10 beyond the line of scrimmage. It varies depending on the teams that you have and your comfort level. He's between the guards, which is what we want. He's got a view of the snap, which is what we want. So maybe he could have been a little deeper, but honestly, I don't know that would have saved him a whole lot, because this double team that takes him out was going to get him whether he was 5 yards back, 7 yards back, 10 yards back, or standing on the goal line. Speaking of standing on the goal line, you're going to keep hearing me say it. Where should our back judge be setting up? It's not right there. Back judges, and for referees in reverse goal line, don't set up in no man's land. You don't have an opinion on either line standing in the middle of the C there. Start on the goal line, start on the end line. And where we're at on the 20, that back judge should be on the goal line. End of discussion. So as we look at the play, if we look up here at the blocks that end up taking our friend out, you're going to see what is necessary. I mean, it's just a double team. And so you're going to move your eyes away from it, because double teams, unless it's a chop, don't foul. He's keeping his eyes on that block of 55 on 79. Great eye discipline. Blow past. There's the other player that blows past. He pivots. Maybe we don't pivot, and maybe you see this coming and can get out of the way. But on the same token, if you don't pivot and you take this, your knees are going the other direction, and our friend here could be out for the season instead of just, being a little sore. And I'm happy to report that the scar on his back is healing quite nicely. So umpires in the middle, this is just something where it's kind of a school of thought thing. As you watch this film, what could you do differently to protect yourself? Because obviously being in the middle, it can be difficult at times, and you can end up in the sea of humanity just like this. So think about where you're starting. Think about what's your strategy for moving out of the way. I can tell you on counters, if there's a hole, don't go into it. That hole is not for you. That hole is for the running back. But maybe if we're facing it, we can get out of the way. But really, I'm just glad this cat's okay, because that sure doesn't fall into the category of very fun for me. So just something to think about for our guys in the middle. All right, folks. Well, that's what I have for you today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all you do for the state of Wyoming. Please do send me more clips so that we can continue to have these fruitful training videos. And I really appreciate all your time and energy for the athletes of Wyoming. Again, this is Tyler Spear, State Coordinator of Football Officials. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.